Hi, I'm Jillian and welcome to the show. I offer spiritual growth for the rebel soul, guiding you through the labyrinth of your own ascension path. This show is for the rebel souls that challenge the status quo, those that crave authenticity in every single aspect of their lives, that desire to embrace their uniqueness, follow their passions, connect to their soul, and live according to who they truly are, even if that means having the courage to go against the grain or the norms of society. If that's you, my spiritual soul seeker, rebel warrior, then this is the place for you. On this podcast, we speak about everything from spirituality, sexuality, conscious relationships, business, and literally everything in between. So if that's your jam, then stay tuned. And go on, be a rebel and subscribe. You know you want to. Welcome back to the podcast. And today we're actually going to dive into a topic that I know a lot of you are going to relate to. And it's how your relationships change as you start to grow and as you start to spiritually awaken. Yep, this is a big one, and it honestly can be such a roller coaster of emotions, because it involves our closest relationships. And I'm going to be really real with you. Like, as you start to grow spiritually and as you start to step more into your true self, like, you're going to start to notice that not everyone around you is not on the same wavelength. Of course, some of your relationships are going to deepen, which is so amazing and so beautiful, but there are going to be others that are going to, fade away. And some may come in and out, over different times. It's definitely something that I've experienced in my own life. And, whilst it can feel really lonely and even confusing at times, honestly, this is actually such a natural part of your spiritual awakening, your spiritual evolution, your spiritual ascension journey. And like I said, I know this from personal experience. Because years ago, when I started to really lean into my spiritual path and really trust my intuition and trust my healing gifts, I noticed that my circle began to shift. The people that I'd once been super close with, the friends, the family members, the colleagues, it just, the dynamic shifted and everything started to feel just, more distant. And at first I kind of thought, okay, is there something wrong with me? Am I doing something wrong? Am I being too much? Or why do I just feel this disconnect? Why do I not want to spend time with these people anymore? Why do I not want to do the things I used to love anymore? But what I realized over time is just that as I changed and as I evolved, just some people just couldn't relate to my growth, and that's so okay, In fact, the more that I actually embraced my own healing, the more that I embraced my own growth, and the more that I realized that not everyone was meant to stay in my life forever. And again, that's okay. Because, some people are only going to be there for a certain chapter of your life. And then once that chapter ended, it's it's okay for them to go. And then just like that, I just started to realize that people, some by choice, some by circumstance, and just opened up space for others who truly matched my energy and where I was heading. Because we are energy, right, guys? And as we shift, as we heal, we are raising our vibration, raising our frequency. We are stepping into a new timeline because we're not being bogged down by all the low vibration emotions, beliefs, fears, the limitations that we were trapped in before. And we start to look at life in a completely different perspective. And not everyone is going to be on that journey. And not everyone is going to be on that journey at the same time as you. So, I learned so many lessons along the way. And I continue to, because as I continue to grow, as I continue to heal, as I continue to step further into my purpose, as being a healer and spiritual leader, it's there's junctures of my own growth, and I will never stop growing. I will never stop healing. I will never stop becoming more and more authentically me. That's a lifetime's worth of work. And, some of the lessons that I learned are a big one specifically is your growth is probably going to trigger a lot of people. And that is not about you. Like that was one of the toughest lessons for me. Sometimes when we start to change, especially when we start setting healthier boundaries, when we start having healthier habits, the other people around us that benefited from us not having those boundaries, not having those healthier habits, are still partaking in maybe the unhealthy things that we used to do. They don't know how to handle it, and then some of them might get triggered by your changes. And that can just create distance, Or on the other hand, it could be that you stop doing those things that you used to do, the partying, the drinking, the gossiping, the whatever it is, because none of that feels good for you anymore. It's not in alignment. And through that, it just naturally creates different distance. And the thing, it's like, this is for a lot of you, this is not about you being too much. This is not about you being too sensitive. This is not about you being too different. It's about them not understanding or just not being ready to meet you where you are. And you might have someone in your life who just gets uncomfortable when you talk about your spiritual experiences or your intuitive gifts or your belief systems about aliens or conspiracies, or, you might get called the conspiracy theorist. You might just refrain from speaking about your spirituality or your experiences altogether. And again, that's okay. It is not your job to make other people feel comfortable. It's also not your job to dim your light to make someone else feel better. That's what we've been doing all this time. And that's what the whole awakening and healing process is, to stop doing that shit. So if someone in your life starts pulling away or starts acting distant, it's really important just to remind yourself that their reaction is more about them than it is about you. And I've got some tips for you because, again, I know it can be confusing and it's not an easy path to walk when you are walking this spiritual and healing path. So some tips for you guys are: release any guilt that you feel. I used to feel guilty when my relationship shifted. I'd feel like I was almost abandoning people or doing something wrong by growing. But here's the thing, growing doesn't mean that you don't care about people. It doesn't mean that you don't care about these people, your friends, the people that you used to hang out with. And it doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It just means that you're evolving. And sometimes that's going to look like stepping away from certain people. And if you feel that pull to step back, then just honor it and have honest, open conversations. Just release the guilt that you feel and just trust your intuition. Trust that whatever you're being called to do in certain alignments or certain relationships is just making room for more aligned connections to come into your life. And another lesson is that when you start doing that, your soul tribe will find you. The more that I allowed myself to grow, the more that I allowed myself to embrace just my authenticness. The more that I started speaking about my shifts, my spirituality, the things that I was experiencing, the more that I just noticed new and deeper relationships start to come into my life. It's like the universe had this way of bringing the right people into your world whenever you're ready for them. And sometimes you have to let go of some other relationships to then make space for new ones. So if you're in the midst of losing people right now, just know that it's okay. It's part of this process, right? And you're creating space for your soul tribe. Those that are truly going to get you and where that you're headed, because you're awakening in this time for a reason. You're here to fully embody your own soul gifts, your own soul purpose, your own intuitive and healing gifts. And this is how you're meant to create a soul-aligned life, where you're actually meant to fulfill your soul purpose and your soul mission, where you're meant to be your most authentic self. And everyone's path is different. That might take you into a business. You might become a healer. You might, be serving your purpose through another type of business. It might be through your relationships. It might be as a mom. It might be through so many ways. Your purpose doesn't actually have to just mean you're having your own business or your career. That's really not it at all. It's awakening your own authentic self, your soul gift, and releasing all of your limitations so that you can live a life that just gives you meaning and fulfillment, and whatever that is. Because what gives you meaning and fulfillment is unique to you, and that will all unfurrow as you start to make space and make energy for the people that are aligned for you following your intuition, from you connecting to your guides, from you following the path, the signs and synchronicities that are being laid out for you. And that only comes when you start to open your gifts and when you start to heal. And this is the thing, right? It can be scary, right? If you are losing people at the moment, like, especially if you are someone that values deep connections, right? Which I know you do. But trust me, again, when you make space for it, you will meet those like-minded people who understand your journey. Like, it just makes the whole process worth it. It really does. Because that's the worst thing, right? Like, and this is the thing that happens. It's like the people that maybe you used to align with when you were unawakened or a bit unconscious, it's like you're in a whole other paradigm, and you those relationships, those conversations, those shallowness just no longer fulfills you. And making space for more soul aligned relationships that do understand, that are also on their spiritual growth and healing journey, that get it, that understand the ups and downs, the trials and tribulations, that understand things from a bigger perspective, that have a growth mindset, like that, those relationships you'll start to notice just fill you up, where the other ones just suck you dry. So if that's what's happening to you, trust it. Trust your energy, trust your intuition, because it's all telling you where you need to be and what you need to do. And and this is another one of the most powerful things you can do, is just go out and like seek those types of communities. Like, that's what I did when I first started awakening. I went and found meditation classes or energy healing classes, or then I started studying a bunch of others, all these different spiritual and healing modalities. But at first I found meetup groups, because I was just called to. I didn't have anyone in my life at that point that resonated with the things that I was experiencing or going through during my awakening. And I was searching for that. I was searching for these deeper level of connections. So one of the most powerful things that you can do when you're navigating this phase of your spiritual growth is to seek out those communities, is to find, again, online groups, classes, mentorships. Finding people that speak your language can make a fucking huge difference, honestly. Being in spaces where you're supported and you're celebrated for your growth is just gonna really help ease the fear of losing people in your life, and it made my journey so much easier. Even when I owned my 7-figure recruitment company, right? Like, none of my team, my business partner at the time, none of them understood the journey that I was on. And I was doing all of these different healing practices. I was studying everything on the side of running and building my business, and none of them understood. And I remember my business partner at the time, making comments around like, you're always like living in the past, and you're always, going through all these things and healing, and, but made it in such a negative way. And it wasn't till many, many years later where now she is on her spiritual journey, which is just, of course, fortuitous, right? And she was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I like now understand, all the things that you were going through. But I felt like nobody understood me. And if I hadn't carved out and found other communities by making an effort and going to things and meeting new people, I would have been feeling very unsupported, right? When I really needed support. Now, lesson 3, let go of the need to be understood by everyone. This is another toughie, right? Like, as we evolve, we're going to crave validation and understanding, right? Like, it's just natural part of being human. But the truth is, not everyone is meant to understand your path, and that's okay. Some people are going to see you as too woo-woo or too out there. And that can be a hard pill to swallow. You might keep yourself in the spiritual closet. Like, I know I did. I know I did for a long time, kept myself in the closet. But here's the shift, right? Here's what you need to know. It's like, You don't need everyone to understand. Your growth and your spiritual awakening are not up for negotiation with anybody, right? They're yours and yours alone. And if you're going through an awakening, like, your path is so unique to you, right? There's no one that is here or has ever walked the path that your soul has chosen to walk and experience, and the challenges, the trials, the tribulations, and the beautifulness that you are here to be in the world, but you. And this is why my spiritual mentorship is called Path for that reason, because I realize there's like a formula, right, to us fully stepping into our path and potential as a soul in this lifetime. And that's why I created this whole framework around it. And, through this process that you're going to go through, it's like, you just have to honor your process, right? Because again, your process, your path is going to be so different to everyone else's, and you're going to feel like an outsider at times. You're going to feel like nobody understands you. But again, it's just like, your spiritual journey is yours, right? It doesn't need to make sense to anyone else. So as long as it feels actually right for you, then that's what matters, right? Just honor your process. Trust your own path that's unfolding as exactly as it should, right? Because this is the thing, right? People are either going to come along for the ride or they're not. And that's just not your responsibility. So one of the biggest things that you're probably going to learn on this journey is non-attachment, is trusting your own feelings, trusting your own intuition enough to know when things don't feel in alignment, and not staying in these stuck relationships or stuck environments because you're so used to things not feeling good. Because trust me, when you start to awaken, when you start to heal, you will start to really understand what feels good for you and what doesn't, and what's in alignment and what doesn't. And your soul will be like doing everything it can to stay away from things that are no longer in alignment. But that can just take time, right? Because we've been living in a place where unaligned things have been the things that we've been doing. So, when I reflect on my own journey, like, I can so see clearly how all of my relationships have shifted at like different junctures of my growth, and I've noticed that pattern over and over, as I evolve, as I I'm going through this quantum leap in different stages of my life, of my business, whatever it is, my relationships, like, the people that I connect with also start to change, right? Like, at first I was really attached to the people that I'd known for years, those friendships that I'd been built through those shared experiences and those moments, and like the whole of my past, right? Like, I was really attached to those. But as I began to dive deeper into my spiritual path and awakened parts of myself that I didn't even realize were there, those connections just started to feel really different. And it wasn't like I didn't love these people. It wasn't like I didn't care for them. But it just really became harder for me to spend time with them. The conversations just felt shallow. They just no longer fulfilled me in the same way that they once had. And I honestly just found myself drifting. I remember a specific point in my growth when I just started pulling back from a lot of social situations. And there were friends that I'd been close to for years. And suddenly I just didn't feel the urge to hang out with them. Like, I didn't feel bad about it, but I also just didn't feel the same pull to connect. And again, it wasn't intentional, but there was just a knowing inside me that the energy just wasn't aligned anymore. Because for me, like, I wasn't interested in small talk anymore. I wasn't interested in talking about the same old shit that once felt normal. It was like I just outgrown certain dynamics. But, it wasn't always easy to navigate that, of course. And there's also this moment where I remember vividly from a few years ago when I was really stepping into doing this full time, doing this my spiritual healing work full time, right? And my light language gift started to come online. And, that wasn't something that I'd shared with anyone at that point, because it was just something that was coming online for me, because I'd had obviously my other gifts that come online, but this was a newer one. And it was just a huge time of transformation for me in general, right? And, loads of different of my spiritual abilities, loads of my other healing abilities began to really, really expand. And, I had a friend that was always really supportive of me, but like in a traditional way, right? Not really into the woo-woo stuff, but open-minded and just supportive of me regardless, right? And I remember her telling me about someone that she knew who was speaking about light language on social media, and then she made fun of them. She kind of dismissed it with like such a weird tone, like kind of like mocking it. And I felt that sense of disconnection right away, and I noticed at the time, but I didn't think of it so much at that time. It wasn't until later when my own light language really started to come online and I started using it with clients that I realized like the full extent of that disconnection. And this is also one of the things that, probably a lot of past life stuff is going to start to come up for you around these friendship groups, right? Because when your spiritual gifts start coming online, when your healing and your psychic gifts start to show up and become really powerful and strong, you've probably had past lives where you were persecuted, where you were betrayed by the people closest to you, where you were, falsely accused of being a witch or whatever it was just because you had healing gifts or you were intuitive. So it's like, I remember like when my light language started to come online, I was like, ooh, that feels heavier than just list life, right? And it was like, because this was so connected to past lives where, at times we were persecuted for sharing our gifts. And, when someone has already shown that they don't understand that gift or made fun of it, that was like, there's a fear of that judgment, right? Especially when mine came online. And I guess as I've moved through my awakenings, and it's a continual practice, guys, right? Your awakening is a continual thing. It's like stages of it, right? And as my spiritual practice is deepened, as I fully, left, for example, my old life, right? Of my old corporate life, my 7.5 years of owning my digital media marketing and recruitment business, right? When I left that life of, being unconscious, partying every weekend, and I moved fully into my spiritual and healing business and building that, all of my habits changed. I stopped drinking. I, so much, like the people that I once hung out with, I didn't hang out with anymore. The things that I wanted to do had completely shifted and changed. It's like, as my spiritual practices deepened, I realized that I only really wanted to spend time with people who were on a similar path to mine. And because, I work with energy and I clear energy and I am so energetically sensitive now, right? And I only trust and want to do things that are in alignment with me. Like there's this part of me that's woken up that's like, I cannot do the things that are no longer authentic or in alignment with me. It's like that misalignment feels so intensely strong in my body that it's just, there's no fucking way that I will do that. So again, the people that are in my life right now, my friends are in my life right now, they know if I choose to spend physical time with you, you know that I really fuck with you. You know that I really love you and I really care about you, because I really enjoy my own company. I really enjoy being my own energy. So it takes a lot for me to actually hang out with people physically. Like now, I mean, that might change in the future, but like in the phase that I'm in now, that's just where I'm at. And that doesn't feel lonely because I love being in my own energy. So again, I noticed that this started becoming a thing, right? And I only wanted to really spend physical time with the people that were on that path similar to mine, the people that were waking up to their own intuitive gifts, or the other healers, or the other spiritual entrepreneurs, or the other psychics like me, right? And thankfully, I carved out and built a friendship group with people that I trained with, people that I had studied with, other healers and other people within the spiritual realm just throughout my years diving into all of this work. And I started craving conversations that had depth, that were based on experiences like awakening, of intuition, of energy, of transformation, of growth, of other people that had like their own online businesses as well, because that's a spiritual journey in itself. And I just began to feel this pull towards people that could understand my journey and just meet me where I was. The people that, like, the conversations that I have with my other healer friends, my other in tune, psychic, intuitive, beautiful, amazing friendships that I have. It's like we're communicating on all these different levels. We're able to tap into each other's energy. We're able to see what's going on with each other. We're able to understand each other on such a profound different level of being seen and heard and understood. And that's what I was craving. And that's why, looking back, I see how disconnected I'd started to feel from many of the people that I used to be close to, because they were not awakened to this level of intimacy, of this level of connection, because they were not awakened to their own intuitive gifts. And that's it, guys. This is the thing. It's like when your intuitive and healing gifts come online, it's like you know the level of connection and relationship and expansion that you can have with people through telepathy, through connecting with their energy, through reading them, through all of your gifts. You're able to create this much more expansive version or conversation or just sense of being with each other than you could ever have had when you were unawakened. And whilst of course I still love so many of these old friends and I would do anything for them, like I just found that like I didn't have much in common with them anymore. Our lives were just going in completely different directions. They were not on their healing path. And so like our conversations just didn't hit. They just didn't resonate with me, the ones that they had. I didn't feel seen. I didn't really feel heard. I didn't feel understood by them anymore. And it was like I was kind of speaking a different language. And I really started to notice how draining those interactions felt. And it kind of felt like I was always the one holding space for these other people. And of course, being the healer and the psychic that I am, like that's what I do on a daily basis, right? Like this is, I hold space, I tune in, I connect, I channel, I get clarity, I channel healing and work with my clients and the people in my life. But I felt like I was just constantly just doing that for these friends without anyone else truly holding space for me. And that was hard, right? That was hard at times. And I just realized that my growth had just created this like distance, right? And I just couldn't basically ignore it anymore, and that was okay. And in fact, like I just needed the space to grow. I needed to find people who could hold space for me as I did them. And that's where finding people that understand your path, who don't judge the strange, the mystical, the intuitive parts of you, because they're also those things, are so, so key. And over time, I really started building deeper relationships that were on a similar journey. Some of my clients became some of my really good friends, and again, those who were healers or business owners, people that shared my values, became the ones that I kind of spent the most time with. And the deeper that I went into my spiritual awakening, into my spiritual business, into being a mentor and leader for other people, the more I realized how important it was to surround myself with those who truly got me. And the relationships that fell away, well, they weren't bad. They just weren't, and they weren't wrong. They just weren't aligned anymore. And it's been, a tough but necessary lesson. Sometimes the people that you love the most aren't meant to walk with you through every season of your life, and that's okay. And also be open to them coming back at different seasons. And, again, there's no timeline on other people's journeys or when they maybe start awakening or healing or shifting things. And that's what I also felt. What I also realized was with certain friendships, they started going on their own kind of journey. And it was the people that I had never expected to. And then that alignment, that energy kind of came back into place, and they came back into my life. So, if you are in the process of this right now, if you're in the process of losing relationships or just seeing changes in the people around you, just know that it is just part of the process, okay? Like, you're evolving, and that evolution sometimes just means outgrowing people who were once in your life or have always been in your life. And it's got nothing to do with your worth, right? It's simply just a sign that you're stepping into your true self. So just release any guilt that you feel. Like, trust that your soul tribe is out there, and just let go of the need for validation. Because like, I just want you to stay true on your journey, and the right people will find you. They will find you. So I just want to thank you for tuning in today and hope this episode has just helped you feel a little more confident about navigating the shifts in your relationships as you grow spiritually. And as always, keep shining your light because your journey is so much bigger than anyone else's opinion. And if you're looking for support as you unlock your spiritual and healing gifts, as you step into your purpose, as you want to get clarity on your path, heal your relationships, or share your uniqueness with the world by following your own soul's path, then you can check out my private spiritual mentorship, The Path, which is a 3, 6, or 12-month journey with me. So transformational. Or you can work with me on any of my one-on-ones or in my group programs. So if you're ready to quantum leap your spiritual growth and get that clarity, that healing, that true transformation in your life so you can walk your unique soul's path and unlock your mission, then this is the way to do it. So until next time, guys, I just want you to take care of your heart, honor your process, and know that you are not alone. I am sending you so much love, you rebel souls.